Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdicus Dave, and tonight I'm joined by this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted. Today we're diving into what really defines a hero in the worlds we build. Spoiler alert, it's not always about alignment or power level.
Talk about what does it take to be a hero here in Under the Dome?
A post-apocalyptic world where survival is secured by mysterious arcane domes, and heroism might mean breaking the rules that keep everyone alive.
When the dome's integrity falters and answers risk panic or collapse, is the true hero the one that reveals the truth or the one who hides it?
We've teased a little bit about the domes, and not much is known about them. Is a dome engineer choosing who gets saved? Are they a hero or are they the coward because they're not going to get everybody free or saved?
That's a good question, because with the various domes in Under the Dome, which is this post-apocalyptic setting where there's these pockets of civilization that they need some kind of protection from the wild magic that runs rampant in the world. Basically, think chaos magic is nuclear fallout, essentially, right? And all the various domes have their own ways of dealing with this. And some domes, it's a single individual that controls everything. In others, it's a ruling class of aristocrats and nobles, and it varies from dome to dome. We haven't explored them all yet, but as we do, we're going to be looking at what kind of saviors are these folks? Are they truly heroes, controlling the domes and saving the people that dwell under them? Or are they tyrants ruling over them, and the very existence of everyone within these domes is reliant upon the one that keeps the dome going, that keeps the chaos magic at bay? And what about those who were living there underneath these dome engineers, these arcane maestros who get to choose who lives and who dies by their whims? What is the heroic thing for them to do? If they can stand up against these individuals, even if they're strong enough to defeat them, what happens to the dome afterwards? Who keeps it going? So what is the heroic thing to do in this situation?
Yeah, it's tough, and I think some people are gonna vote one side, and some people are gonna vote the other, because good and evil is something that's a skewed situation, especially when you start talking about this post-apocalyptic world where survival is so important. The general concept of save the children, look towards the future, but it's like, all right, well, I have to, as a dome engineer, you have to make sure that those saved are the ones that have the best chance to keep everything moving forward. So you might have to let the innocent die and save somebody of importance because they're necessary for the dome's survival or the city's survival. And that kind of thing gets into some really good moral debate and makes for some awesome role playing and some core decision making for characters.
Also, does it kick off like a race for the heroes to try and figure out how can they preserve the dome afterwards? These springboards for these other opportunities to be heroic, or do they just look after themselves, right? Do they become the tyrant of the person that controls the dome? Do they try and take over and rule them and be like, hey, you keep this dome going for us or else, right? They could argue they're doing what's best for the greater good, but are they any better when they're kind of holding life and death into balances? Their sword, their hand it definitely creates these shades of gray, or can they strike out and maybe take the people someplace else where they will be safe is another alternative as well. But at the end of the day, like, do they then eventually become the same as the keepers of the domes, with them choosing who gets to be saved and who doesn't? Doesn't make them any better, even if they claim their goals are noble. So in Under the Dome, we have chaos magic, and we have the Carnival of Chaos, where dreamwalkers reshape nightmares into inspiration and reality. This has been a fun thing that has kind of gained a life of its own in the Under the Dome campaign setting. It was a kind of a throwaway encounter adventure for the players to kind of go into, but it's almost become like a demi-plane unto itself, almost as Ted has described in the past, as the plane of shadow, or even like the ethereal plane, where it kind of overlays this world, but it is creepy, horror, and carnival inspired, our
Yeah,
own little realm of dread.
everything that you've done with the Carnival of Chaos, I've immensely enjoyed it. I'm not some big fan of clowns and carnivals and circus. And I guess because of it, it's all something that's a little bit new after playing this game for as long as I have. So it's like, okay, well, this was a lot of fun. We got to add new elements to the repertoire of play and running. So I'm like, well, I definitely want to play and explore with this. And the more I like think about it, the more I look at it, it's like, well, this this has to be, or potentially could be, more than what was first imagined. And yet through the reimagining, the thinking about it, nothing changes the lore about what's already been done. It just builds and adds upon it. You start talking about dreamwalkers, and I love playing with dreams in my game. So like adding the two elements into it, you could absolutely be like, okay, well, perhaps this Carnival of Chaos has the capacity to like literally shape their plane off of the nightmares of everybody in the domes around them.
One of the questions I would ask is, in this demi-plane that combines chaos, festivity, and dreams, I imagine there's Desnans that are from this place, right? We know there are. So what would a hero look like in that place?
So to them, like the hero might be somebody who attends the performances and loves every minute of it, regardless of what the performance is. The hero might be the person who is just one of the best performers, or somebody who is a master at some of or all of the games. Not everybody that lives on the plane, which we got to come up with a cool name for it, but there's got to be regular folk. And with that regular folk means there's going to be life in and around this carnival, this circus of chaos. That just utterly twists my brain to try and figure out like what exactly life would be like for the average folk there.
What if the average folk there are just dreamers? There's people that wander in their dreams into this place, and in their dreams, they're really there, right? It really exists. But sometimes the sleeper never wakes and the dreamer never leaves, right? They stay there and they become permanent desonants of this realm. Do they begin organizing a resistance, trying to tamp down the more base emotions and reactions of the other desonants of this place, those that originated from here, like
Penny
Penny
whistle.
Whistle, Plow Pie, and the like, because obviously anything that ends up in this realm kind of becomes his plaything, right? So do they become protectors of those who wander in and try and bring them to shelter and safety so that they can enjoy their time there while they dream walk through this realm? And I'm thinking we just make it like a dream realm. I kind of like that idea. Like that's the connection from the world of Under the Dome, is when the people sleep, they can end up there. The unfortunates don't get to leave there, or if something happens to them in the waking world while they're there, they get stuck, right? They permanently become fixtures there. But dreams is always the way to kind of enter and leave. So as more and more folks kind of get trapped there and stuck there, what kind of life are they going to live? And will heroes arise from them in order to hold things together and give them a semblance of some kind of life here in the dream world? And maybe through these interventions, there becomes some places that are a little less chaotic, or at least, if not less chaotic, less malevolent in nature and maybe more whimsical. And so far, we've only explored this dark side. Perhaps there's a lighter side that characters can go and enjoy, and actually having a good life and good dreams there. Because we've also discussed in previous chats the idea of this realm kind of like infusing into the real world and causing like dreams and nightmares to become real. So I feel like it's a doorway that goes both ways, just depending on what's in flux, where the state of the chaos magic in the world is at the time. But it's definitely something we can explore. and perhaps even have adventures there with heroes that are from this dream world. And maybe they could go into the other world temporarily the way you guys have gone there.
I take this concept and I look at it as to say, okay, well, what if you have this scenario as you present it? So you could have elements of the carnival where you have just the base, the fun carnival aspects. Sure, it's chaotic. Sure, it's there, but it could be relatively safe. And the further away you get from whether it be the center or from the edge or whatever you want to look at, the more chaotic and the more, I don't want to say evil, but maybe that is probably the closest word, but the more crazy it becomes and the bobbing for apples and acid level of sadism could be brought to play. But as a dreamer, and I see this aspect of like, okay, well, if you're gonna enter into this world, this could be a fun way to not mechanically make any changes to your character, but it's like, okay, how do you envision yourself? Give everybody the ability to like reshape your core aspect of who you are. The halfling who always feels proud and confident. Well, instead of being 3 foot tall, maybe in this dream world they're 6. Have this re-envisioning of yourself because it's your dream, right?
It is your dream, and dreams have power.
So moving on, cult leaders claiming divine purpose through heroic narrative in a world without gods.
It could be said, right, that giving people something to hope for, a greater purpose could be heroic, right? Or it could be selfish. And in Under the Dome, we don't really have gods per se. We have some spirituality, we have some religions, but there isn't gods in the traditional way of D&D. That being said, it doesn't mean that someone couldn't come along and claim that there are gods and build, or a god, and build around that. They could do this for good purposes. They could even believe. They could be a true believer. Whether it's true or not is another matter. I mean, one of the things we've kind of explored in other videos about Under the Dome is this concept that the domes themselves are gods that have been kind of sacrificed and repurposed their power into fueling the domes. Perhaps one of these cult leaders has discovered this and is starting to build a following around it. At the same time, the powers that be, the government, the aristocrats, the noble hierarchy are just claiming this is the ravings of a madman. The question is, like, through the filter of Under the Dome, does this person become a hero amongst the people, or are they a villain?
Well, I mean, to the people, they're absolutely going to be a hero. Anytime you are lifting up the common folk and giving them essentially hope, something to look forward to, something that is going to remove the droll of day to day, that's a great thing. To an adventurer who sees the ploy for what it is, sure, they're a villain. And to the common folks' eyes, as the adventurers come in and slay their lord, it's like, well, crap, you just took out our figurehead. Does somebody else step up into their place and fill the void, or do people go find something else? The great part of fiction is somebody's hero is always going to be somebody else's villain.
Yeah, did they become a martyr or the first saint?
You have the ability to see how it all unfolds and how history is going to view it based off of who gets to tell the story. The historian gets to be the one to determine what all of these things are.
The other thing too is, right, this cult leader, they're giving purpose to the common folk and they're inspiring them and giving them hope. But if you're someone who is more experienced in the world, for instance, like in our game, your characters, compared to the vast majority of the population, they're worldly and they're very intelligent, they're wise, and they might very well know there are no gods, right? So do they let this false prophet keep inspiring folks with false hope? Or do they let truth reign free, even if it means leaving the population crestfallen as their deity is ripped from them because it wasn't a real thing to begin with? And they proved that this cult leader is nothing but a charlatan. Are they doing the greater good at that point? Is that the heroic thing to do? Or do they just let them keep believing or something else?
I would say Vel would let them have their false idols. it's not going to change the afterlife, but it'll change the life they're living now. Whether that's the right or the wrong decision, he's got so much on his plate to deal with. He's never seen himself of like, oh, I need to be a hero to the common folk. He's always looking over his shoulder of all the things left behind and coming after him. So it's like, well, I'll worry about me.
That is a valid thing. Maybe that's what makes a hero around here. Don't worry about me.
I mean, I don't think Vel has ever considered himself as a good person. He's definitely not what I would consider a hero. I mean, even from the moment session one, like he took a magic item to be the master of persuasion and deception. So I didn't really view him as the hero. Like he's not evil, no, but he's not the paladin. He's not the stalwart guy.
Well, that being said, because Under the Dome is a little darker and a post-apocalyptic setting where life is just hard, right? You guys have definitely gone out and made choices that you later have come to regret to some extent or another.
Sure.
You guys, were at odds with a druid. You defeated the druid, tracked him back to his lair, tracked back to his lair after him and his minions were defeated. Only to find that the lair was not completely unprotected. But once you breached the defenses, realizing the only thing left in this cabin was his loot and his treasure, his wife and their infant child. And like, you guys were all gung ho and geared up to go get, all right, we fought this guy. He was tough. He must have some good stuff. And then you get there and he does have good stuff. It's all piled up. You can see it. And the only thing standing between you and it is this woman and her child. And she's just pleading for you to spare them. And
it's like, you can take the stuff, but don't kill my son. And every single one of us is like, oh shit.
And so like, even though you guys don't consider yourselves the heroes per se, it was at that moment that you guys morally made decisions and said, oh, we're not going to take your stuff. And looking back, you guys were like, oh, this was bad. And there's a bunch of characters in the party that have very low intelligences. And now there's a no creating orphans policy among the lower intellects. They check first to figure out whether they're making orphans or not. So like you guys have moved towards a heroic bent, right?
Yes. To that extent, there's the element of we're not assholes for the most part, but it is a scenario that on occasion we're doing what's right. But I think there's a difference between acting heroic and making good choices and actively trying to put the stamp of hero on your pauldron.
Yeah.
And I don't really think anyone in the party is seeking that kind of claim.
Yeah. Just because you don't seek it doesn't mean it won't seek you.
History is rife with those kind of things.
And Under the Dome too, right? Like particularly in this dome, for Stalia, they're street racing, right? So you could also, like on a smaller scale, become a hero of the people by just being good at street racing. And there's definitely those in the dome that do that as well. So being a hero can mean different things to different people, right? There's definitely people that watch the drag racing and see it for the sport that it is. And they have people that they idolize, racers, people to look up to, because they themselves may never be able to get the opportunity to do that. They're not going to be able to afford the grind to power one of these grind rides. They're not going to be able to get access to one of these vehicles, but through your group and others, they can kind of vicariously live through you. And in some ways, maybe that's enough, right? That's a way to be a hero. And had we kind of like stayed at a lower level and hung out there longer, that was an avenue that we could have probably explored a bit more too, right? Would it be like to kind of have a fandom from the sport that you guys all kind of participate in? And it's definitely another way you could run games in Under the Dome that are definitely not typical to a D&D game, but it's kind of fun and it's just another way to be heroic.
Yeah, that's actually a great campaign option, would be to just be like, all right, it's more of a street level game. You play something 5th to 7th level and you get to be the closest thing to D&D is like an athlete that is revered by any and all who relish every time there's a race. You've got commoners who are looking to dress up or mirror your style. That could be a lot of fun to play with.
Your character discovers the dome is failing. Do they warn the people and risk chaos or find a secret solution alone?
Thanks for exploring the gray areas of heroism with us, where sacrifice, shadow, and survival collide.
Like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss a single video. And until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.